Hello, and welcome to the end of the month. Um, or perhaps more accurately, welcome to the ID update at the end of the month. 'Cause we're a few days out, but hope you've had a good month. Joey, how's your month been?
It's been. It's been. It's the best thing I could say. There's always a roller coaster. Still on the job hunt. It's not going great, but also the wife is like ready to pop. So we've got kiddo just going. So it's busy and frantic.
But exciting, right? You know,
Exciting. There is a blend of exciting and oh god.
I should imagine so.
So
Awesome.
as always, I'm thankful that I'm smart enough to bring 2 beers.
Well, we shall discuss that particular topic in great detail just as soon as we're back. But before we do, as always, let's roll the intro. There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT. You know, I think I might update the intro.
Oh?
I was just sat there. Sorry, this is way off topic. I was literally just sat there thinking, we've had this for quite a while. Yeah, I might revisit that in all my tons of spare time.
Yeah,
so,
all the spare time that we have.
Yeah, totally. If anyone in the audience would like to have a crack at redesigning the ID Update intro for free, please do.
Yeah, no, you'll get it in exposure.
Absolutely, it's a development opportunity in the industry to showcase your skills to like the 6 people that regularly tune into this show.
Right, and most of whom, after the intro.
Yes, this is true. But we'll enjoy it. So you never know.
We will enjoy it. Well, hey, as part of the topics for the day, one of my personal favorite video composers. I'm still not at editing mode, but they're close. That needle's moving.
Yeah,
they did some cool stuff.
They did. It didn't blow up.
And it hasn't blown up yet.
That's good.
That was weird. I was able to use features, and like they did what they were supposed to do.
Weird.
That was weird. That was unusual.
Well, we will dive into that shortly. But before we do, what are you drinking?
That's a good question. What am I drinking? What am I start with? I'll start with a little bit of my mood right now, which is a little sour. So we're gonna go with a Mango Pirate from Bristol. Though you'll like this also, actually. So we did this last year. I shared the glass. Every year Colorado has a pint day, where all the breweries, like, there's a special pint glass for it, and that happened on April 12th of this year. So this year's theme is road trip. Last year it was like fishing. This year's theme was road trip. So this is the glass.
That's very cool.
For the year, which is cool. It's like, I don't even know how many breweries. It's a lot of breweries that all participate and they all get glasses.
Nice.
So yeah, these become little collector's items. Cool. All right, your go.
Well, it's got unusually warm here, and so I have started on an Asahi Dry earlier, which is a very commodity dull beer.
For you.
Unusually warm. What's the temperature? Right now, I consider it to be obnoxiously warm. It is 14 degrees Celsius.
God, so that's 60s?
I have no idea. In
14 Celsius Fahrenheit. 57.2. 57.2 degrees is obnoxiously warm to you.
Absolutely. On top of that, we have what has been quantified as a very high pollen count, which for me is akin to a death sentence. So,
I think we're at 52. 52 degrees.
Yeah. So I've got a not proper beer so that I can have it super cold, which is nice. But then I also have a limited edition session pale ale called Long Live the King, because in the next week or so, I think the King is getting his new hat, and so we all get an extra day off work.
Hey.
All right. Did they make the beer for that, or is that just something called Long Live the King?
No, it's a beer made specially for that. It's one of the supermarkets. Who made it? Who made it? It'll be Aldi or Lidl, one of the two. They've done a whole range. The Great British Brewing Company has done a whole range of beers to celebrate King Charles, and they've all got King Charles spaniels on the front of them, wearing hats.
That's cool. That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
There we go. That's slightly more clear in the camera there. Yeah. So what's this one? This one's Long Live the King Session Pale Ale, brewed in partnership with Freedom Brewery. I guess that's good.
I don't know how I feel about a British brewery being called Freedom Brewery. I feel
Sorry,
like
yeah, I forgot. You guys have trademarked freedom, haven't you? That's your thing.
No, I mean we've trademarked the word. We don't know. Lord knows we don't know what the definition of it is, but we've trademarked the word.
There we go.
At least you don't have one called like Independence Brewing. See, that would be pretty fun.
No, this is true. This is true. This is kind of what I've been laughing a lot about this week. Is you look at other kind of what we call them bank holidays, but like national holidays, if you will. You look over to Europe and you've got in France, you've got like Bastille Day, you've got Labor Day in pretty much every country around the world, blah, blah, blah. We are literally creating one because an old guy is getting a new hat. He'll sit on a special seat where another old guy in a big hat will put another special hat on his head. Like
holiday for show. So I learned this. Oh God, I don't remember if it was in March and April, but Canada has a Family Day, which is literally a holiday made because the month just didn't have a holiday.
Yeah, that makes the special hat thing look practically sensible.
Yeah, I should see for us every time like the joke in the States. I don't know if it's out there, but like all holidays are just Hallmark greeting cards, looking to make money.
Yep.
And here's Canada's like, we just made up a day because we didn't have one in a while.
Like, yeah, okay, I like that. I mean, I say, it's just Hallmark trying to sell. No, beer companies too. They're cashing in.
As they
Hallmark
should.
Beers, absolutely.
Oh my God, if Hallmark ever made beer,
in fact, they would sell so much more than just the gift cards.
They would be in like little that would get out of because you'd have like the Hallmark birthday beer, and then you'd have like Hallmark anniversary beer and Hallmark wedding beer, and then you'd get into like Hallmark get well soon beer and Hallmark condolences beer. I'm like, okay, this is getting dark.
I feel like they'd need to go into spirits at that end of things. Like a condolences bottle of vodka or something. That would be
right.
That is not the message of this podcast. Not at all.
No.
You should drink whiskey or gin, never vodka. So
drink responsibly.
Let's meander towards actual stuff.
First off, cheers.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. I've not poured anything, but cheers. There we go.
Oh, still cheers.
It's terrible. So I mean, I guess we've sort of been starting with a little bit of a ramble at the beginning. So I mean, we've got, I think, big topic Camtasia. I think we could agree that's pretty cool. Lots of stuff.
I think this one's a big topic for a couple of reasons, and one of them is because of the direct criticism that I've always given Camtasia, and this is 95% directly targeting the things that I always loathe Camtasia for, which is really them just not being a video editor per se, and being so, God, what's the word? Like cookie cutter and like scaled back. And you have if you want to create depth and something really creative, you got to really know how to use those tools. And Camtasia has now actually made things that are staples in other editors, like motion paths. Oh my God. They've made a lot of things staples, and also a full appreciation for Lottie, which, my God, does that change some things.
I'm not gonna lie. Of all of them, a lot of them were like, okay, that's cool. It wouldn't be enough to make me use it for a project, right? Mm-hmm. The moment Lottie was there, I was like, that's
it's really impressive. Cool. And I don't know enough about I'm just now wrapping my mind around Lottie files and what they are and what they do, and I'm like, oh, that makes a heck of a lot of sense. That's the next natural progression from HTML5. The good old days were just like, let's just have code do everything. Yay. Sorry, Macromedia Flash. You continue to be obsolete.
This is it, but like for instance, at the minute, I mean, I import for anyone who's watched the After Effects for Instructional Designers video on the channel, you'll know that my favorite cheat for making stuff in After Effects is importing a Lottie file, finding something that's close enough, importing it, and working from there, and having a lot of the stuff done for you.
Right.
And that's great, but then you still have to do it in After Effects.
Yeah.
Now you can do it in Camtasia. That is a much gentler learning curve.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I want to see I hope Camtasia sticks with, just leaning into things that one would call complex technologies, and making them so user-friendly it boggles the mind. Camtasia is incredibly user-friendly and always has been. It just comes with limitations. That's the trade-off. It's easy, but you can only do so much. As I currently am fighting with Wix, because you can do anything you want and it's impossible in Wix. Thanks, Wix. This episode not brought to you by Wix.
No, definitely not. Okay, so I mean, let's step back a little bit. So I mean, for me, Camtasia, I came to it originally quite a while ago for screen recordings, which I think is fair to say what a large amount of the use case for Camtasia has been for a long time.
The TREC files are great. It captures your mouse, and you can do a lot of extra things, and it will recognize like your clicks, and you can do a lot of things really, really easy.
I found it to be by far the best option for creating just like video-based systems training or demos, things like that. A lot of the alternatives are kind of, again, so stripped back you can't do anything with them in post, or so complicated you may as well be creating a video in After Effects from scratch. So this is
Captivate screenshots. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. So then I think 2022, funnily enough, after a break, was the first time I bought a license, just in time for Camtasia to kind of...
Oh, that was bad.
Yeah. So let's take a trip back, I guess, and just initially answer the question of, did we see another, I don't know, just implosion in this update? So I'm not going to lie, when I saw it come out, I did hesitate to go, yeah, I'll update, because part of me just thought, this currently works. Do I want to click this button?
Functions. So for those of you playing the home game who have no clue the heck we're talking about, Camtasia 2022, I don't know what they did with it. I don't know. But it's a resource hog. Like it's almost like it doesn't know how to use resources efficiently. Like it just skips that part. So it runs into crashes it's not even crashes. It's just sensational slowdowns doing basic things. The more layers you get, I mean, naturally, the more layers you get, the more resources you're using. But Camtasia had like a Wile E. Coyote level cliff fall with an anvil that came after it, and it made the thing straight up unusable. I'm not even going to say you could sort of use it. It was unusable at a point. 2023, so far, I haven't seen the same problems to the point of unusable. It does struggle a little bit, but they have done some different things with their artwork rendering. Their exporter is a lot faster. That's a nice thing. They did some work on that. So I can't take a nap anymore. Jerks.
It's funny. The first time I did a quick export on it of an old project today to kind of get a feel, significant, like noticeably quicker. We're not talking like a few seconds. Like it was a solid 30-40 seconds quicker on a short video.
Yeah, they have a new rendering engine. They put a new rendering engine in at the very end of 2022. I guess just to test it. And it's impressive. It's impressive.
It's a big step forwards, and what I have noticed is it's making it's able seemingly to harness much more resource. Because I know I was certainly finding that previously, if I set it to say CPU render only, it would go out and absolutely hammer 4 to 6 cores, but struggle to scale beyond that. Whereas now it was kind of touching on kind of 8 to 10, but all none of them pegs to 100%.
Yeah, and that was the issue I had that with 2022, where I would just change up, like, here are the resources I need you to access, be it like have Windows say this is what I need you to access, or Camtasia with the that CPU rendering. Didn't care, it didn't matter. Like it would bug out, and I would be like, all right, how much of the system resources are being used? Nothing. Why are you using nothing? Do you know how? It would die and it would fail. I haven't seen it that bad this time. Not like I haven't done anything so complex yet. I'm working on it, but it's like personal project. Like I feel bad because I can't. I'm trying to think, like, as a trainer, from an instructional design perspective, like, what do you really gain from most of these features? And it's not all. It's aesthetic. There's a lot of aesthetic and pretty, but me doing card game hobby stuff, I'm like, oh my god, corner pinning is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, I think though that it opens the possibility for instructional designers. I think this is the thing is that for me, the biggest thing about Camtasia from an instructional design perspective has always been the fact that it is easy to approach and use. And it's the biggest problem with video editing in any other context, is that video editors are usually pretty tough to use.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I had a thought. To go and have a look at the rendering. So yeah, with the interesting thing with the rendering engine is the fact that the GPU acceleration is still beta.
Yeah.
And that was probably the one thing around the export that disappointed me a little bit. I had hoped that would be now a fully fleshed out feature, because that, I think, in terms of efficiency, helps a lot. But as well, if they can get everything GPU accelerated, people will not have to have mega CPUs and tons of RAM.
Yeah. Lord knows you're not getting that on your work computer anyway.
Well, yes, again, yes and no. It does depend. Like if you work in-house, it gives you the possibility to say to a business, hey, look, yes, we can absolutely do these great videos. Here's what we need to make that run well.
Right.
Like as much as, like, I mean, I love DaVinci Resolve. Everyone knows that. And DaVinci Resolve is kind of on a serious upswing right now and doing really, really well. But it is never realistically going to take over in modern workplaces right now from Adobe Premiere Pro.
No.
Simply because Premiere Pro has got to the point where most of their updates right now are optimizing to run on lower and lower spec hardware.
Nice.
And going back to Camtasia, which is the original point, I guess, I think one of the biggest things they need to think about is they're adding these new functionalities, which are all cool. Some of them are, and some of them maybe don't work so well, but we'll discuss that, I'm sure. Is that they don't
background remover.
Yeah. Is that they bear in mind that their user base is not running top spec machines.
Yeah.
You know, so anything they can do to optimize for lower end hardware, they probably have less time to do that than other software creators, because their market is very different. And I wonder if that is why we see maybe some of the limitations we wish would go away not going away, is the fact that those limitations would be resource heavy to fix.
I can appreciate that. I can definitely appreciate that. I mean, since 2018, Camtasia's been trying to figure out what space they belong in. Because Camtasia 9 was just bad. And then just was. And then 2018 comes out and it's this whole new world of video editing. They add behaviors and they add themes and they just like suddenly you have a workforce platform. Like you have something that's actually like, hey, we know that you're not doing this alone, or we know that maybe you want to make things look nicer than crap. And they put a ton of that. And then 2019, 2020, they add more into the themes and the collaboration side of things. That's when you get libraries and you get the ability to expand, you expand those libraries out into creating templates and placeholders and having notes for the person you pass this on to. And they were like, all right, we're going to be your collaborative video editor of choice. That's also when Video Review came out, Camtasia Video Review, which was great, even though Vimeo's is just infinitely better and it's just part of Vimeo. They're getting there. And then 2021 didn't do much. It didn't do much. 2022 just crapped the bed. We just kind of like, oh, sorry, that was just bad. And then 2023 has been a shift very strongly into aesthetic. And let's do Lottie files that we can make cooler, nicer looking things, cursor effects. I thought about it. I was like, here's the thing. All right, I have to give them credit for this. And I think this is something that anybody who is in training, anybody who does training for applications specifically, go look at Camtasia 2023's basically release video, because that is a masterclass in taking training to a point of value proposition. Not enough people in training respect the concept of adding value prop. Like, why would somebody use this? So many people are like, here's how to use it, and like, here's a use case for it. But they don't add it. It's a really tricky skill, because you kind of got to know like your audience a lot better. But it's not just why you would use this, but let me inspire you to do something with it. Because I didn't think, because like the cursor effect, where you can take the cursor that you have and you can replace it with an image. I was like, okay, so what? Who cares? Like, the only time I would use this as a joke, so I can make my own Mickey sing-along song. My little Mickey, like, follow the bouncing head.
Yeah.
But the use case that they had was they had a webinar where they were showing off, and as the person speaking changed, the cursor changed to show who was speaking, and that was like the mouse that was moving. Was like, here's their title and here's who's speaking now as the mouse is moving. I was like, that's really clever. That's a cool use for that I wouldn't have thought of.
No.
Value prop. It's real good.
And I think even if it's not something that many of us will use all the time, you got to kind of give it a nod as being technically well executed. It does work.
Yeah.
It's not that long ago that you would sit there and say an Adobe product rotoscoping out a cursor. Like, that's totally been a job, just to remind everyone.
I tried a rotoscoping job a couple of weeks ago, because I had a video that had like a little flaw in it that I wanted to remove, and I was like, oh god, no, I can't rotoscope.
No, it's a painful process now. It is a lot easier than it used to be, but it's still woefully painful. So
we had to do
a one-click fix is amazing.
We had to do it at my first video production class I ever took in college. One of our midterm project was a rotoscoping. It was a 4-second rotoscope. We got to do anything we wanted. We just had to do a straight rotoscope of it. So I took the last fight from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That was a lot of fun to do. That's a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but it was still cool to see. And by the way, if anybody's not sure what rotoscoping is literally taking, in web lands, a second of video is 25 individual frames. For web video, it's 29.97 in proper film, and don't even talk to me about the 0.3. Don't. It's just bad. That's a conversation you don't want to have. But anyway, 25 frames per second, and rotoscoping is taking every single one of those individual frames and doing whatever adjustments you need to make for some kind of lasting effect. If it's like to hide out, you can hide out string if you're making someone fly, or you can, remove blemishes, but you got to do it one frame at a time. Rotoscoping is a pain. Hi, Kara. Rotoscoping sucks. The end. That's my rotoscoping rant.
So, we've done, yes, we're talking about the Camtasia update.
I am talking about the Camtasia update.
We're 29 minutes in. We've done the intro, we've said hello, and we've talked about Camtasia, and I don't think we're done.
No, I mean, that was the big topic for the day.
Absolutely. Do you know what? Actually, when I saw a new version, I kind of just went, we'll definitely talk about this. Then like playing around with it yesterday and today, it's like, oh, okay, this is actually.
I went to town on this thing with the features, but again, like I did them like one feature at a time, so I didn't put together like an entire mass of. I don't have any videos to edit like that.
No, absolutely. I think that's going to be a lot over the next. I kind of set myself the challenge of I've got a series of videos that I want to do, and I've been putting them off because I've just been thinking, oh my god, the editing is going to take days and days of time. So I think I'm going to try and do it on Camtasia, which will be interesting.
That'd be you should like track your progress and just. I'd love to see a little like 5 minute, like in the middle of like, all right, day 1 or hour 20 or I don't know.
Just tears streaming down my face. I think, actually the biggest thing with that, and people I think always overlook this when you talk about switch to this software or do this or do that, is things like your particular workflow. Like I love working in DaVinci Resolve, one, because I think it's great. It has all the tools. I find it great that everything's there. But also I've got one of their speed editing surfaces. So just physically, I can edit quicker in DaVinci Resolve. I don't have to remember Control Shift whatever. It's just a button there, and I press it and it does it. And I've got a jog wheel, and I've got color color correction discs and all this. It makes life so much easier. Whether it's you've got the Premiere Pro keyboard or whatever. That sort of stuff gets overlooked. But yeah, I think I'll definitely do some updates on it. But it was interesting because I would never have thought about that even at the end of 2002's run. 2022's run, sorry. I would never have thought, I should go and edit some videos.
Yeah, of all the things that I wish Camtasia would bring, I wish I could just do better channel specific color correction. And you can. It's just bad. It's just it's so pointless. It reminds me of Adobe It reminds me of like Adobe CS6, where everything was in the everything was done in drop down menu, and you didn't really know until what was going on, so you had to close the drop down menu. It's not that bad, but it's pretty dang close.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with color correction is it's a bit of a rabbit hole where how many, especially of Camtasia's target users, would ever use that functionality?
Yeah, and I don't think you're wrong. Like, I shouldn't be doing it for color correction, and the only time that I ever do is if I'm trying to do something crafty with like my video, if I'm trying to record, 2 of me and trying to do something for a bit. But at that point, you can manipulate alpha channels, and you can do the blending alpha channel trick where you take basically a black to clear gradient. Yeah. And then you just blend the video using those gradients using alpha channels. That's probably a lot more than anybody knows what the hell I'm talking about. But you can fake it. You can fake it just fine. The end.
Yeah. Okay. So Kara brings up a good point. Actually, the chroma. So it's fair to say this has simultaneously been a big claim not claim in Camtasia. That's unfair. A vaunted feature in Camtasia.
That's a good
easy chroma key removal, but it has always been, if I'm honest, although it's the easiest tool in which to do the process, I've personally found it to be my least favorite result.
It's rough. Yeah. It's just rough.
Any improvement in 2023? That's not something I've looked at, to be honest.
I haven't really seen enough of an improvement because they put all of it into the background removal thing, which is also just bad. Like it's no different than like any Zoom thing where it either works or it doesn't, and then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And oh no, I put a hand up here, and of course I'm the idiot that has an orange background that looks very yellow. So I'm already like, I think Camtasia's like no with me, like don't, please stop. And then the other wall is gray.
Because I've always wanted to do like videos where it's like get rid of the background and put like a thing with stuff appearing on it and all that, like explainer videos, but done well.
Yeah, I mean, you could
But I
Most
do
people
not
just
want to put up a green screen in my office because that's a right pain in the ass. That's the thing.
okay. So no, it's not as bad as you think because they make them that actually attach to chairs, and now if you, I mean,
Yeah.
you're like I've seen how tiny spaces y'all live in, so like that might not work for you, but
To some that this is a wall here. Oh, you really can't see that. But maybe if I can't put my hands out equally to both sides without hitting a desk or a wall, you know,
yeah, that might be a
it's quite compact. My office space with a lot in it. More than anything, though, I'm kind of as a technology person, I just find it really frustrating that I should have to. But it's 20, as the name of this software suggests, and this isn't just a Camtasia gripe. This is considering how much the world right now is screaming about how incredible AI is, but we can't read that kind of a video reliably. What, seriously? Like,
yeah.
really? No one's just sat down and gone, do you know what we should do? We should make every video editor's life a little bit easier.
I think you would be okay if you weren't wearing your hoodie.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to do something other than a gray hoodie. You might be okay, but even then, it's not great.
It's that kind of thing where I think we should be past that, even on a tool like Camtasia that is not, it's not trying to be a DaVinci Resolve or a Premiere Pro.
Right.
It's not entirely fair to compare them. But the fact that none of those three tools can do this well, it's a worrying sign, isn't it?
Yeah. Zoom does it in real time. Also not great, but like
just really badly.
we just simply accept that, like, that auto removing is one of those like tools that we just simply accept as bad.
Yeah.
We've just been okay with like, okay, half of your face is missing in Zoom. That's fine. We accept this. Okay. Because I've never had any weird issues with like I suddenly say hand pop up or something. I'm like, oh, okay, that's just Zoom being Zoom. I don't think that's actually how humans are.
No, this is true. But I feel like we're in Zoom. It's kind of like, it doesn't matter when you're creating a video that is designed to be like an edited, polished thing. You get away with less.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe this is where you have to think about what the tool is for. Like Camtasia is pretty squarely aimed at workplace usage.
Yeah.
Then they're not making big plays for the content creator space or the professional entertainment space.
Yeah. And for me, like my design, like, and I think that's also a matter of design style as well, because my design style doesn't actually like truly floating head. God, we thought they were called floating heads before. Like, I don't like those anyway. And if anything, they've added vignette, which is a little 80s for me, but whatever, it's there. So for me, like the way that I do those types of videos and I do stuff like this, my personal style is I'm more thankful that the alpha channels came in, because I like to frame myself in unique ways. Like I'll frame myself in like a trapezoid or a slant, and that way I can exist as little as humanly possible and keep as much of the screen on as I can. And for me, I don't see enough of a difference between that and not just enough. Like if I cut myself, like, if like I've got a frame that's out here and this is like all you see is everything on the right side, like how much different is that than if my head weren't there and it was the same amount of space? It's not enough. It's not enough for me to make an impact. So I might as well put a frame around it, design it a little bit, do a shadow, do a thing that makes it look like, hey, I professionally exist in the bottom corner, not I'm floating and fighting. But that's me that's somebody who does not watch like enough Twitch streamers. See, all right, see, Kara, I can't think of a vignette without thinking about the Great Muppet Caper. And there are two movies that abused vignettes so bad that I can't think about vignettes in any other way. And one of them is gonna surprise you. So the first one is Great Muppet Caper, and I always just want to say, "Here's to you, Miss Piggy." I just want to sing, "Here's to you, Miss Piggy," because they do it in vignette for like 5 minutes. Like, why? Stop. And then it's all dream, half a dream. But the other spoilers. The other movie that abuses it and it's just done bad, is Wall Street. Gordon Gekko, Wall Street, everything they did was in Vignette. I'm like, why are we doing this? Drives me nuts. I can't do Vignette without thinking of those two things. Oh.
So I'm trying to think what else we've got an update for in 2023.
What's funny is the vignette effect. Actually, this is a cool video editing trick for anybody who wants to do something cool with backgrounds. The vignette effect done in reverse is actually really cool makes really cool backgrounds. If you have like a semi-textured background, so a vignette is faded out and feathered into clear. Do it the opposite direction, where you have it basically is like a spotlight, where you've got like a dark. You can even do like a black. Black's usually really good, but take like a black and then feather it into your background. You get just enough extra depth that it looks so professional. It looks so good. It's like you made a spotlight. Spotlights on textured backgrounds are just infinitely better than just a textured background. And it's got to be real faint, like real faint. Sorry, anyway, that's a design tip for anybody. Design tip for everybody. It makes so much difference. So much difference.
So
anyway,
yeah. So we've done cursors and a bit on the chroma, maybe. So what about what else have we got?
Okay, so asset library is great. So all of the assets that they've made have now been switched into Lottie form. So if you're familiar with Camtasia, if you're not familiar with Camtasia, this is going to make more sense. In Camtasia, depending on what you put, like if you put your own assets in, if you put your own kind of creations, graphics, whatever, over on the right side in the properties, you have the ability to just do a drop-down menu to control specific colors and elements. It's great. So I can make super quick, easy changes with that. In 2022 and prior, if you wanted to do that with any of the things in the asset library, you had to play around with the color corrector. It's real bad. It didn't work. It didn't function. Or color tinting. God, that's stupid effect. Anyway, so now all of their graphics have been changed to proper Lottie files. So any of the graphics that they have, any animations they have, or anything like that, you get the same property menu where you can just drop down menu change. It's great. Cool. And that includes, because they added dynamic backgrounds, like really dynamic backgrounds. So like I'm remaking Decks and Drafts intro because they've got like moving through stars, but I'm gonna make them all bubbles. And just use like yellow. Nice. Yeah, because it's already built for me. And then I can change the angle at which it's panning, and I can change any colors I want, and I can really like Lottie files. I really got to play around with it.
So
but I don't have to.
Sorry, I was just going to say, for anyone listening who is not aware of Lottie and Lottie files are like a JSON formatted animation file.
Yeah, it's like a coded animation.
Yeah. So there's no set graphics within it. There's no kind of PNG or JPEG to distort when you try and change it or alter it in any way, which makes it totally editable, which is really nice, obviously.
The other thing the other thing that is amazing with Lottie files, especially when it comes to like those dynamic backgrounds, those dynamic animations, is now it's a lot easier to loop them.
Yes.
Because now because you couldn't do that before either. You had to like find the cutoff point and then copy and then make a new instance. Now you just expand it. I'm like,
this is it.
Doing that cool stuff is just so easy.
Yeah. And I think even beyond Camtasia, Lottie files are something that we've done a bad job as an industry of leveraging. Like especially in a space where so much of our content, when it gets media rich, becomes difficult to run places, whether it's slow internet connection or anything like that. Lottie files are a great way of reducing that bloat because there is no MP4 or it's just code. And so it's incredibly lightweight.
Yeah, there's so much smaller in file size, from like literally megabytes down to kilobytes.
This is it. And
which is also why some of the stuff I've been testing is just like rendered like neat.
Yep. Easiest way, in my opinion, as well, to put animations onto a website. Why would you faff around with an MP4 or anything like that and trying to match backgrounds or frame it? Just put a Lottie file on it. It'll sit there perfectly.
Yep.
And be lightweight, which is lovely. So if you want to learn more about Lottie files, though, what was it? Lottie
Just Lottie files.
Lottie.
LOTTIEFILES.
This is it. Vast library of pre-created stuff and a wonderful community around it. So if you create Lottie files yourself, you can upload them to the community and share them or charge for them or whatever you want to do. Wonderful thing.
That's cool.
Cool. Yeah. So I just thought we'll cover that because that's an important element of what makes this so good, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So there's two other really important ones worth covering by a lot. The first, well, one maybe not. So one's more for me. One is more of a me thing. So I'll do that one last. But the first one, the most important one, is motion paths. Finally, and they're good. Yeah. I really like the motion pathing tech in this, and this is one of those that goes really nicely with just the ease that Camtasia already is of being able to have something, being able to have an asset and put it on whatever path I want. And be able to have it like stop in the middle of a path and continue on. You can ease it into a path. You can speed it up as it heads to a certain point, and you can make a lot of adjustments to those. So I can have loops, and I can have my Mickey Mouse bouncing head if I want. Or if the more proper use case is if I want to take. You currently can do this with cursors. And then you can do cursor smoothing. This was originally done with you can do cursor motion paths in screen recordings using the track files. That was kind of like the first motion paths, and they did fine. But now I can take anything else. So like if I can take any graphic and like move it around a screen if I want to point out certain things, and I'm not reliant on the mouse. Or if I have like a creation that isn't a screen capture, I can point you to specific things, but I can have it go on a motion path as opposed to using spotlights or the many other things that you end up doing. Highlights, callouts. That was the word I was looking for. Callouts. But motion pathing tag is great. And again, it's so easy to use. You just get a little line in the track itself that's like, this is the motion path. Where do I want what do I want to change in the path that exists? Find that on the timeline, click a button, then you move it. And if it's not right on the timeline, you move it on the timeline to wherever it needs to be on the timeline, and it will adjust itself and do all of the tweening as motion paths do. And then you can also say as like zoom in or ease into this, ease into the point or speed out of the point. It's all basic tech. It's not like crazy. It's just like, oh, good. We could do that now.
Yeah. I think this always felt like a bit of a gap, didn't it? It kind of felt like this was obvious functionality that was missing. But then that doesn't... I always feel like when we say stuff like that, it's like, oh, well, let's discard the good that's been done. Actually, it's still just great that we've got it. I think it feels a definite plug. I mean, that for me was up there, but I got to say the thing that I'm most excited about might be the same as you, but corner pinning.
What is it? Corner pinning?
Corner pinning. Yeah.
Oh my God.
The moment I saw it, got excited, then went, no, remember last year, this could be awful. But actually, really good.
Your render's just fine. That felt great.
Yeah,
I did that a couple of times because my use case, since I do card game stuff for decks and drafts, is I can basically set a play mat on a table and cards on a table. And you can do that anyway. Like that, corner pinning in its own weird way is screwing around with your corners and then playing around with the X, Y, and Z axis. The only thing you can't do is like stretch one side, and that's what corner pinning really shines at.
This is
and why it's so much better is because now I don't have to worry about the perspective. Like the perspective angle, like I know what I'm getting from a perspective angle. So if I do want to make a fake table and have like a card on a table at an angle, like the perspective is going to be what it is or what it needs to be, and I can copy it
This is it. For those again who might be watching later and don't know, so this is sort of my use case tends to be I've got a flat 16:9 image and I want to put it, say, inside the screen of this mobile phone over here. What I can now do is take each corner of this and go, that corner is exactly there, that corner is exactly there, and it will figure out how it makes that work. So effectively, you get the right perspective for where the device is. Again, it seems so simple, but loads of tools really struggle with this. Like really expensive tools struggle with this.
Yeah, for sure. Like I know the thing that I'm excited about with corner pinning is also leveraging the concept with masks. Because again, for me who likes to swap out cards and swap out things, I can basically make a frame, and you can do the same thing too. So you're not corner pinning the same darn thing, because you might have it so your 16:9 isn't exactly like the phone.
Yeah.
So you do is you take a screenshot of this, you take the rectangle that you need, that's an alpha frame, that's a frame, and then you corner pin it on top, and then everything else that, like, if it's not a part of this square, don't show it. So many cool. I'm so happy for corner pinning.
Yeah.
And you can transition into corner pinning. Like, that's, for me, that's the thing to do really dynamic things. It's not just like a fade into it. I can now have like the screen like zoom into this or whatever I need it to.
Yeah.
So it's really dynamic.
Awesome. That's I think that, as with so many things, it's the combination of all these different tools, right? I think that's always been my issue with Camtasia in the past. Whenever I've thought of, should I edit this video or do this YouTube video or this bit of work just in Camtasia? Because then it's not just about, does it do corner pinning well? Does it do color correction well? It's as an entity, will this make the job of creating this piece of content as easy as possible?
And that's the thing that I want to see Camtasia do. And I might go bug them, actually. I'd like to see Camtasia do a better job of showing off how the tools come together to create great things. If you go into the depths of some of their like how-tos, they're brilliant. There's some really cool ways to get, like, how to get a clock to work, and how to have your motion paths create like really cool like lever effects, and just there's a lot of really cool things they have, but it requires you to like put together 3, 4, 5 different tools to do it. I really want to see them do more of that. It's something that I kind of want to do more of myself also, of like, let's show you how you can use like masks and transition modes and blending modes and corner pinning and put them all together to create a thing, as opposed to, here's an example of this one effect doing this one thing that it serves the need perfectly that we needed it for. Like, okay. Oh, I forgot, there is one thing that we didn't do. There is one thing we didn't talk about, and it's funny that it's a thing that's amazing, but it's amazing. It's fun. I don't know. I don't actually know, because I've never really used it in other tools. So I don't know if this is like new. I don't know if this is like timers.
Yes.
The asset library has countdown and count up timers. And they go as far as you want. They go with seconds, you can go to milliseconds, you can go and you just extend them out, and they're again fully like Lottie files, so you can change every aspect of the things that you want. I am so happy to see those, because I do decks and drafts on timers half the time. I was so happy to see this.
Do you know what? It's one of those things that you don't really think about until you do a video with a timer in it. Then you realize that this thing that should be so simple, it's not. Like, genuinely, like, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, I did a 5-minute timer for some 5-minute toolbox videos. That in the end I stopped because they were too much of a pain to edit. But I literally in the end I was like, right, grab an MP4, shove it in the corner, because that was it. I was done faffing around with this.
I did. I wrote. Half. Not actually rotoscoped, but I did like. I did a countdown for somebody, and it was those. But yeah, and it was great. It's great to be able to have a countdown, and for me who does the stylized stuff, being able to like really stylize that countdown, or if I am doing things like, hey, you know, in a video, it's like, I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds. Like now I can actually put a countdown timer. It shows 10 seconds. Just little things, little quality of life. Respect the quality of life adjustments. That is a quality of life adjustment.
This is it. And I think it's a good example of TechSmith and Camtasia playing into what their tool is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the very, very best at any of these individual things. It's the easiest.
Yeah.
And certainly
I'm
now, when I
pleased with
think about
these.
adding a timer, if I can just go to there and go bap, bap, choose some colors, maybe, whatever, and I'm done, that's a winner. For, you know, for me, there are plugins that allow me to do that in Premiere Pro, some in DaVinci Resolve, but much less. But they're plugins. I have to go and find them or buy them and install them. And every time it updates, they might uninstall. So I've got to go back and install them. All these things add complexity over. I want a timer, go to the library, drag a timer to where I want it to be. Done.
Yep.
That's, you know, and again, going back to what we said at the beginning, what matters to someone like an instructional designer when we're working, ease of use, speed. That's it. So no, I think overall, I want to say this exceeded my expectations for the update. I've got to say.
Agreed. I still need to see if certain things usable with like a proper edit of a big video.
Yeah.
I'm hoping in the future that there's more motion graphics support. I know they've got their own. I mean, they put a lot onto their own asset libraries. I would ask them to like pull back from that. Like, we're good. I don't need to be trapped in your asset library. I want to make my own. Yeah. Like, I want to be able to do things that like what After Effects does, where I can, like, the thing I love, you know, when it comes to like motion graphics and After Effects, I would love morph effects. I would love to do morph effects. I would love to be able to, you know, take a shape and be able to have it morph into something else. That's your most basic motion graphic. I'd love to also be able to have be able to control what's visible, what's not, and what stays behind, like on a motion path, like how I can get a line to draw. Like I want to be able to basically create my own hand drawn animations. So like if I have an arc right now, I can move a thing on a motion path. It's a dot and it ends here, but I want to be able to like leave it behind. You can do that in After Effects very easily, actually. So I want to see motion. I want to see them move more towards motion graphic support. I think they've got the usability down. They've got and they should also probably update their I'd like to see them update their interactive stuff, but also I don't really know how much it's used, so I don't know how I feel about that. I know I want it, but that's because I'm greedy. But like their quizzes are pointless. Like don't use them.
Yeah.
But also like who does use them? That's the real question. And at the end of the day, it's no different than like Storyline. And who like I could use the things that they already have built in, or I could just do a freeform question, and I'd rather just use a freeforms question. I can do the same thing with Storyline or with Camtasia. It's like I'll just use hotspots. We're fine. But so they got the usability. They've got enough on the training stuff. I want to see motion graphics. I want that to be 2023's focus. Like I want to be able to do the things that After Effects can do just in a heartbeat. And then once you're done with that, start moving into 3D. Give me 3D camera.
Cool. Well, there we go. Camtasia 2023. More than expected, seemingly better than expected, worth a play.
For sure.
Fantastic. Kara asked a great question. Yeah, Learning Tech. So Learning Tech's next week. It's Wednesday, Thursday. Yes. Is it? Yes, it's Wednesday, Thursday. Confused because it's bank holiday on Monday. I've booked Tuesday off to go and travel up and set up, and then 2 days after. Cool, lovely. Yeah, so Learning Tech this year. What am I looking for? I'm going with the Learning Network. With the rest of the board, a lot of us are going to be there. So if you're around, come and say hello. Join the network, or just come over for a chat if you're already a member or whatever. What are we going to be looking for? Well, I know I'm looking for AI stuff, but I'm looking to have meaningful conversations around it. Like there are a lot of companies that I know are there to talk about AI, and my leading question is going to be explain to me how you're using AI here.
We're going
and
to
not
integrate
just,
it in our platform.
oh,
So that way it's easier for instructional designers to do their job.
yeah, that's exactly the sort of bullshit I'm looking forward to having conversations about. Because
that's my drunk Kermit. I'm bringing out drunk Kermit for these.
yeah, I think there's I want AI to be a massive thing in the industry. It needs to be. We need to embrace this technology. Too often we are the element of business that clings to where we have been for too long. But the rapid adoption, especially in the platform space, of just absolutely pointless AI integration that adds nothing to the user's experience, but allows them to say we're AI driven. It's just so irritating. The flip side of that is what you don't then know is who's doing a really good job of utilizing AI, especially in the platform space. This
Right.
I'm biased. I'm working for a platform company now, so I'm totally looking for great ideas and things we might want to do in the future. But that's kind of my struggle with it at the minute. I know it's going to be a big change to the industry. We've got to get on board with it. But I think the danger and what we're seeing a lot of right now is we've integrated ChatGPT. Great. Why?
Mm-hmm. I want to see the guidance, not just the why. I want to see like, all right, you have it. You can say it all you want, but I talk about Camtasia and I look about all of my years in SaaS tech. It's not what you have; it's who actually uses it and who knows to use it and who knows how to use it the right way. I would want to see what the guidance is. How are you inspiring people to leverage that technology for the power that you're going to claim that it has? Because people aren't going to do that. Who would? Oh, I can just have the thing write the copy for me. I'm just going to do that. Like AI can do more than that. Because then we're going to have that conversation a couple of months next year down the road of how impactful AI was, and you and I are just going to be complaining about how it was another missed opportunity.
I think this is the danger, and I think like the prime example is in some ways I wish the first sort of two end user products from the new AI world had not been ChatGPT, because it's kind of set this paradigm in which AI is great at writing text. It's like that particular AI is great at writing text. AI as a whole can do things that are far more freaking useful than giving us more goddamn text. We have
Like
enough
localization.
text. And it's kind of like I did a lot on AI last time, but it is what I'm going to have a lot of conversations with this time. But I'm also going to have a lot of conversations about. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of going to be hunting potential sponsors a little bit. So the Learning Networks conference is going to be back this year. Connect 2023 will be on November 17th in London, whole day event. And I'm gonna be somewhat pursuing people and asking if they'd like to basically give me some money. No, but asking them to get involved in the day. It's always been a fantastic conference. We haven't run it in a while because of COVID and cost of living, all that kind of thing. So I'm really pleased that it's coming back. So I'm super excited about that.
All right, I'm excited.
And then we've also got like an XR like big conference evening event in London in June that we're sort of what's the term, co-hosting with AI UVR, fantastic kind of augmented and alternate reality company. They do incredible work, and they've basically just released this. The way it's been defined to be is like it's an authoring tool, like e-learning authoring, but for VR experiences.
Okay. Okay.
Like
I gotta see that.
this is cool because my whole criticism VR too expensive, too time consuming. You need to bring in experts, etc. Their whole thing is no, we'll give you the kit, we'll give you the tool, we'll train you how to use it. It's like okay, that's cool.
All right.
Like that goes a
I mean,
long way to
cool.
addressing some of my complaints.
For sure. I mean, the other aspect of the complaints is make it better than a 2D version.
Yes.
How do you make it in the 2D? How do you make it so good that I would want to buy the equipment necessary to have somebody even view it this way?
This is it. And I think this is where, compared to a lot of companies, like we all know, a lot of ed tech companies say they are the creator of the solution. This is the future of training. One of the main reasons, yeah, exactly. Like one of the reasons I particularly like AI UVR and their approach and their messaging around this is their whole messaging is we are not, and our tool is not, and XR related stuff is not the solution. It's a tool.
Smart.
As they view
Already
it,
smart.
there are specific scenarios, and like the people they've got coming to speak, sort of very hands-on role companies. They've got like the Royal Air Force coming along, and they're like, we got to train people to do stuff. Like, but the stuff they got to do is really expensive and high risk. So this is kind of like their stepping stone towards that. It makes so much sense. And like we've said before, specific circumstance makes it brilliantly efficient or effective. But the cost has never made sense, even then, in my opinion. But they seem to be doing a lot to bring it down towards the point where you can author your own content. It is in-house creation as opposed to constant freelancers. And
I mean, if they're bringing something like the Royal Air Force, it sounds like they know also that they've got a pretty niche market for something like this, and they seem to be targeting them directly. So it's not like mom and dad's going to give you a view of your store.
Yeah,
and you're going to have a VR experience with an actual customer facing you.
Yeah, no, they are much more realistic about, look,
Okay.
no, your 20-person business probably isn't going to deploy this.
Yeah,
but
because we talked about some of the great uses, like in engineering, and when you're dealing with like I need to like fix a thing or medical or anything of those things. So
this is it, and it's funny. I was doing some work with a medical company, and they were talking about the challenges of getting people to do training when it comes to like valve replacements and operations, and like getting them to a location all over the world, getting them the equipment to practice on so that it's as realistic as possible. All these things.
That's VR.
You kind of think this is it. In their own hospitals, they could be working in an augmented reality or a virtual reality.
Have you heard of ChatGPT? It does everything. Sorry.
Yeah, and this is kind of the point. I would much like back to the AI point, I guess. I think the interest that I have in AI and L&D has nothing to do with the creation of text or the automated creation of video content, or any of the surface stuff we're seeing now. I don't like. Will it save some time? Yes. Is it an efficiency thing? Yes. Does like AI generated video is a good example. It can be pretty good. Colossian does really great AI generated video. I think Synthesia is a slightly older one, but still does a really nice job and is developing.
I mean, a couple of them use the same engine, so
yeah, this is it. But realistically, I don't know. I think that is not the big value that we should be looking at. To me, the big value in AI for L&D is all the stuff that we're really bad at. Data, holistic view of the business and the impact we're having, creating strategy. And I know everyone likes to think that strategic high-level jobs are always going to be set. No, that's exactly what AI can do that we are terrible at. We know we're terrible at it because L&D has consistently failed in this space for the past 30-40 years.
Yeah. It's subjective to the person creating it, it's subjective to the person receiving it, it's subjective to the person who is asking for it, and all three of you have different standards and different definitions of success.
Exactly. And my argument, just to be clear, is not to hand that over to AI, but it's to make it a heavily AI assisted process.
Yeah, if anything, you can at least have a foundation that is the same to stand on. So, all right, so let me ask you this regarding AI. Your thoughts. The same way that the VR company is seeing it as a solution, not the solution. Is that something else you're looking for with AI? I don't want it to be like the solution. Just what other avenues do you see AI being as a solution for instructional design moving forward, not just the solution for everything that we know some companies are going to try to sell you on.
Yeah, and this is interesting because I
What
think
would you, let me ask this in a different way, just a way that makes it more sense for audiences as well. I'm perusing around a conference floor, and we'll just say that there's an AI section. This is the AI section of the floor. What kind of companies would you want to see? What would you want to see an AI company specialize in?
I wouldn't. I've got
You
no
don't see
interest
like
in
we're
AI
an AI
tools.
company that specializes in data. We're an AI company that specializes in video creation. You don't want to see any of that?
I don't want to see standalone tools. What the hell's the point? Why should I add another tool to my tech stack? If your tool is it's an AI, then I'm not your user. You should be selling that tool into platforms I already use as
Fair.
a
Okay,
tool that
that's
I can
fair.
access.
That's fair.
And this is why I think we're currently blinkered by the idea of chat GPT or
Right.
using exactly. And from a financial point, I think Kara's spot on there. We're going to end up paying through the nose as individuals. It's expensive. Buying enterprise level licenses for this stuff is excruciating.
Yeah, we already have the problem with Articulate.
Exactly. This is it. Have we not? If this is the one time I want to see. Well, no, I don't want to see contraction of the market. I want to see the market utilize tools sensibly. So again, looking at this from a platform perspective, when I buy in an LMS or an LXP or an LRS plus a headless LMS or whatever solution I'm going into, the whole point of bringing that in is to create a single point of interaction for learning within my organization.
Right.
Ideally, learning and knowledge management, maybe comms as well, maybe social engagement. So why then would I want my AI tools, be them content creation tools or data tools or analysis, whatever it might be, why would I want them to be separate? No, I want them totally integrated within my ecosystem. And that to me, when I think about like the strategic assistant is the example I'll run with because it's an idea I'm playing with at the moment, is I want my strategic assistant to have a view of what's being done on the platform. What data is being fed out by the business from business intelligence? What information am I seeing from the market? What information am I seeing from our specific industry? And what interactions are my users having with my content? Now, keeping on top of all of that, especially as a small L&D team, which most L&D teams are, even in huge organizations, is really tough. But instead, your AI gives you a handy, oh, this is happening. I've noticed in our strategy as the business, we're focusing on this, but the entire industry is moving directions this way. Just to let you know.
Would you see a problem with just different AI companies just trying to take their own spin on it, and suddenly you have 5 or 6 different AIs that just integrate with everything in slightly different ways, and no different application gels because every AI is doing it just different enough that they can make their own space in the industry?
Not really, no, because it ultimately the data is still going somewhere. And I think this is what that one of the big benefits, I think, is that no matter how different the models are, fundamentally, you can write an API and let them speak to each other.
If you let's make it more practical. Lottie files are great because they're fairly universal, but let's say that another type leverages the same idea, does just a little bit differently, and then suddenly they're the ones with they license and partner up with Adobe. And now Adobe has a very unique Lottie injection thing that is just unique to them. And if you want to pay for that, you're paying for that. If you want to use everything else, you're also using Lottie. Like, are you worried about any of that kind of stuff with AI? Or even care?
Not really.
Okay.
Again, on the content end of things, I think there will be some, but we're gonna see what we saw with authoring tools: massive expansion in the market and then rapid contraction to a few big players. For better or worse, that's what's going to happen. Especially as a lot of the AI content creation companies aren't kind of and I don't mean this as a negative point, just to stress that, they're not hyper passionate L&D people. They are tech people building a cool thing into the L&D market, which is the right way for that to be, by the way.
Yeah,
But what it does mean is they will sure as heck sell that company if they're offered enough money at the right time.
for sure. Yeah, no, you
Um,
focus on your core offering, and then you figure out your audiences.
This is it.
You adapt to different audiences later.
And it is going to be the Adobe will buy these companies up 100%, whether it's Synthesia, whether it's Colossium, whether it's someone else. Adobe, like they did, they may even try and launch their own thing first. Which they are currently doing some generative AI beta tests. It's fine. It doesn't stand out from anyone else's. Eventually, like they did with Figma, like they did with just everything basically that Adobe currently has in its arsenal. It's all bought from other people. So yeah, I don't know, but that's why I'm not particularly excited about generative AI in terms of just straight up, here's a tool that makes this bit of content using AI. I don't find that exciting. I think it's that potential for deeper insight, that potential for better recommendation, that potential for contextualized search in a learning environment. We all know learning is all about context. Everything is more effective in the right context for the learner in that moment. That is where things like large language models get me really excited, because that's where suddenly a large language model can scrape your e-learning, your podcast, your PDF, your guides, and answer someone's questions so they can do their job.
Right.
That is where that gets exciting, not ChatGPT, please summarize this for me in 6 paragraphs and blah, blah. Great. Yeah, it saved you half an hour.
And Grammarly is off to the side. It's like, I've been doing this for years.
This is it. It's very, like, don't get me wrong, ChatGPT is not an incremental improvement. It's a huge leap forward. But from where we are now, great. It's really good at summarizing text. Guess what? ChatGPT 6 is going to be really good at summarizing text. It's just going to have a bigger data set. Well, they've already said it won't go that far anyway, but you know what I mean. It's, we're going to run into the limit of how good something can possibly be at summarizing and expanding on points.
Exactly.
And I think we're there, realistically.
I'm going to step away for just a sec.
Go for it.
So I'll do that. But what's next for Figma?
Figma. Do you know what? I am behind on Figma news. I weirdly am not using it a lot at the moment. Let's find out. Am I going to cry when I see what's next for Figma? What's new in Figma? Let's have a look. Throughout the year, Figma releases little updates that make a big impact. Okay. Sneak peek, preview settings. Oh dear. Just tell me what the updates are. Text tidy up. Start lists with other numbers. Hang of it, keep important things. Build better. And there's nothing on the website that worries me particularly. Let's have a look. Maybe I'm missing something, but I can't really see a great deal of change listed on the website unless I'm missing something scary and obvious. I feel like someone's about to tell me worrying information. No, I don't see anything. Okay, sorry. I'm going very quiet on the stream now. I don't see anything on there that worries me too much, but that doesn't mean it's not there. It might just mean that I've taken my eye off Figma.
Ooh, I came back to a legal war. Neat.
What?
Basically, it's a legal war in the U.S.
Oh.
Figma. I'm gonna look up.
This is okay. That is potentially scary.
Also in chat. Antitrust lawsuit. Of course. I did not antitrust lawsuit.
Yeah. I mean, the upside is no one's ever held accountable for breaching antitrust laws, so probably everything's fine. That's the unfortunate reality. I mean, that doesn't surprise me particularly. There we go. U.S. Justice Department requests more info from Adobe on $20 billion Figma buy. Yeah, I mean, it's cash and stock acquisition. Okay, yeah, that's. I mean, I suppose that there is I would suspect that one of the questions is why the hell did it cost that much? The company launched in 2016 and had received $332.9 million in funding to date. It's kind of difficult to justify. Should the deal not go ahead, Adobe will potentially have to pay Figma $1 billion in a termination fee. Gee. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think that's I mean, is it that surprising? No, considering without this context, we were just saying how Adobe just buys everything in that space.
It's gonna be another Macromedia. It's gonna be like, hey, we're gonna buy it. We're gonna buy it. And we're gonna throw a bunch of it away, and it's gonna be a pain in the butt. But we're gonna throw a bunch of it away.
Probably,
except for Captivate. If you guys really miss not Macromedia Flash, but if you really miss Macromedia Director, remember that piece of crap that was just Flash but worse? Captivate's right there.
This is right it. Like, I think the thing is that something like this, there's going to be I was disappointed when Figma was bought by Adobe, because Adobe is going to quash the creativity and the innovation that we saw in Figma. They just will. Big businesses like Adobe cannot innovate in the same way or innovate as rapidly and are willing to mess up like Figma has been. You know, like Figma's released some properly awful features and then just gone, whoops, our bad, we'll fix that. And everyone's cool with that because it's a small business.
Small businesses aren't at the mercy of eyes.
Yeah.
So it makes them great.
This is it. It's why they're apparently worth that much money. I mean, well, apparently is definitely the term.
Somebody paid for it, so I'm not gonna say it's market value, but look, somebody wants to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, 20 billion is an outrageously large amount for Figma. I don't know, but it feels outrageous. £1 billion in termination fee, that one would certainly fund them for a while. But I think my issue now is,
like, they had to know that.
Yeah.
Like, if we knew that you were going to have an antitrust thing, so we're just going to put $1 billion safety debt just in case the DOJ gets involved.
I mean, in fairness, like a lot of businesses, especially small businesses being acquired by big businesses, that's pretty standard to protect.
Yeah, you need that safety net. It slows down a lot of things. You're also shutting down other conversations you might have had with other potential buyers.
This is it. And the damage it does to your small company if it does fall through is huge.
Yeah, the reputation gets crippled.
This is it. But I feel like this way it would happen both ways with Figma. Anyone that felt mega strong about the Adobe takeover has left. Those who have stayed are okay with it, but we now know that the people running the business wanted to sell it to Adobe. So now if that falls through and they're left running it, we know we're not going to see the same as it was before. So actually, I don't think there is now a way back here, realistically, to what Figma was. I think actually the best thing that could happen is this, for good or bad in the future, goes through. Because if it's thrown, if it is blocked, then Figma, I think, will just die.
$1 billion are going to take their money and run.
Well, this is it. Like, the owners were clearly perfectly happy to sell before.
Yeah.
I suspect they will take $1 billion and go, okay, bye bye, and go and do something else, which is fair. That's what businesses are for, right?
Right.
It's just kind of the way it goes. I mean it's sad to see Figma tied up in something like that, but at the end of the day, should Adobe be looked into more? Yes, all big tech companies should. All big companies should. So I can't say it's a bad thing in of itself. But again, it's antitrust, so chances are they'll get some form of slap on the wrist and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
You know, they'll, rather than it being blocked and then paying $1 billion, they'll allow them to buy Figma and charge them like $1 million or something and be like, "Hi, it's a record-breaking fine against Adobe. Isn't that wonderful?" And we'll all go, "Well, no, not really. It was."
Yeah, they'll be right back. It won't mean anything. If there's
Yeah,
anything that we can trust, it's how pointless antitrust is.
it's the sad truth. Laws that are there to make us all feel like we're protected, whilst in fact doing nothing. But hey, yeah, well, that's a sad note. But yeah, so I'm looking for that. I'm looking for AI conversations. I'm looking for new partners for the Learning Network. And do you know what? Actually, there's some really great conversations happening at this year's Learning Tech that I won't be involved in for obvious reasons, because they are all about women in learning and technology and HR technology.
Awesome.
There's a big gathering there of the women in learning group. Like Helen Marshall's going to be there. Sharon from Learning Pool's going to be there. Lots of really, really fantastic people, all getting together to talk about how we move forwards, how we improve things. So maybe not so much as a conversation that I've got a major role in, but it's great to see that at an event like Learning Tech, because I think it's important that kind of space does move with those kind of changes, because it is a little bit of an environment, or has been in the past, and that will be a positive move. And it's not just that event; like conferences as a whole are, the stages will remain male dominated.
Right.
Most keynote speakers, most panels are uneven in terms of male female representation, that all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm on the spot because I also did marketing stuff, so it's actually marketing is a really good blend of both. A real good blend of both.
That's really cool.
So it's nice to see more. It's nice to see that hit up other areas.
And it's always frustrated me in the L&D space, because the L&D industry I have found to be a pretty good mix. The issue is who is given the opportunity to speak publicly and to occupy, as you say, those I'm not talking about C-suite positions, because I don't think it's all about C-suite positions, but decision-making positions.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. A lot of my senior directors and a lot of senior director, once you hit that level, I don't think I ever had one. I don't think I ever worked for somebody who was honestly female. That was in like senior director or higher. Director, I think, was the max.
Whereas I think I've had the reverse, and actually most of the people that I've worked for in L&D have been women. But the flip side of that is every conference I go to is wildly slanted towards male speakers.
Yeah.
Which is always disappointing. But hopefully this event really helps drive that change, because we've got so many fantastic people that hopefully are able to be given given some opportunity to network and speak and get those positions through events like that. So that's positive, even though I won't be there myself.
D&I, man, D&I. Though that's going through its own little little batch of weird.
Yeah, I try not to lump stuff into that. I don't think it's a helpful space to put any topic that actually matters right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's what's funny is like anybody who ever paid attention to how affirmative action worked would have seen this exact thing coming. With D&I, not that like I like the concept, I like the appreciation for it, but it's when you get into the point where elements of it feel like an obligation, it starts to become hypocritical for its own mission.
Yeah.
Or at least you can twist the arguments real easily that it becomes hypocritical for its own mission. And that's exactly what's happening here, because that's how it worked with affirmative action. It was the same problem we had. And yeah, that's just, it became a rule when it needed to be an acknowledgement. And it's really hard to get outside of that. Where does the DI fit in the org? Why put it with L&D has the real power? Yeah, it's because like with most HR thing, because it's HR. Like it's connected to HR more than it's connected to L&D.
But the bit beyond that is the honest answer: no one else wanted it.
Yeah, usually why training exists in most of the places that it was. It's like, go and train. Yeah, we'll put it into product.
This
was put under product so many times because nobody wanted training. Like nobody wanted our team. They didn't know how to hold us accountable to their standard.
From a business perspective, that's the difficulty. Okay, design some diversity and inclusion KPIs. Do you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, and not make it look racist.
Like, it's incredibly difficult, and so naturally it landed in the area of the business that's really bad at defining and meeting KPIs.
Yeah,
but what should have happened was the day it started to become a trend, we as the L&D profession should have gone, whoa, hold on, no, just like we're not all these other things, we're also not this. This is my same argument about like mental health training in the workplace. Should not go anywhere near an L&D department.
No, God, no.
And the same with this stuff. It should go to specifically trade. I think, and this is kind of the problem with DEI at all in the workplace. We totally need more diverse, more fair, more equitable working environments. Is the way to achieve that a DEI department? I suspect no.
I strongly feel no.
I've said before, I don't feel like if someone is in some way bigoted towards someone else, you can't train them out of it. You need to fire them. That's just the situation. If you have to teach someone not to sexually harass someone else in your workplace, you don't train them, you fire them, and probably report them to the police. It's just that it goes against everything L&D usually says, which is, oh no, we can save the world through training and courses and And this is why L&D never actually makes any progress meaningfully in the workplace, because we're trying to do that. We're trying to address mental health. We're trying to address 17 other different things.
We're trying to solve the world's problems. We're teaching. Yeah. And in America, teachers always are the ones who are supposed to solve the world's problems. Teachers are the ones supposed to parent. They're also those ones who are supposed to, shoot people who are trying to take over the school. Like, teachers got a lot on them.
Yeah.
But I think in certain elements also, like, especially when it comes to the HR stuff, and I feel like with HR, and this might be a spicy take on it, HR shouldn't be legal. I don't feel like HR should be legally accountable for the things they don't teach. Because that's the sexual harassment training problem. Like, you say that HR shouldn't, L&D shouldn't be in charge of like sexual harassment training. If that were the case, like, you just fire the person. The problem is that in the realm of this is why we can't have nice things, you're going to have somebody who sexually harasses somebody and then goes back and sues the company because they weren't directed of specific actions that were not deemed okay. And they will win that off of a technicality because they've won that off of technicalities, which is why DEI is such the joke that it is. It's not because it's trying to be good. It's because it's trying to protect from the technicalities. And it's it's just happened. Like, and that's the thing that sucks. We can't have nice things. We cannot promote just good-heartedness. We have to have an entire program that spells it out in crayon because the company suddenly becomes liable.
But I think this, I have a different view on this being in the UK, and I don't mean to be too disrespectful. Our laws are better than yours.
No, we suck.
Like, the way you guys write and just manage law is bizarre. But that aside, the idea of electing judges, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, no, trust. You should go through you should think about the process of impeaching them. Oh, if you want it to get worse, No, we're really bad at foundations.
Yeah, I think this is it. But I think because maybe that shapes the perspective a little bit. My argument would be you don't need to train people what they can and can't do. You put it in their contract of employment.
There you go. Don't do this. We fire you.
Yeah. And yes, it will be a ridiculous long contract. It will probably be hundreds of pages long. But I would rather see that add some administrational burden at the hiring point than us as L&D be charged with solving sexual harassment, solving racism, solving this.
Solving pronouns. Good God. EOC claiming over.
Claiming NY over pronouns when there was no training on it. Yeah. See this.
We suck.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is the big challenge, right? It's about the expectation you set with your employees. And when it comes to social, and this does go both ways. This goes every way in that, how do you document the idea of respect? But even like pronouns are a good example of something that you may need to talk to your employees about. You do not need to train them. You need to tell them. This is now the company standard. This is now an addendum to your contract of employment. If you do not like that, that is absolutely fine. You may give your notice whenever you would like, in the same way that every company does whenever they make any other change to people's contracts of employment. That is, within every company's right to do. Mm-hmm. And it sounds cold and harsh, but it's only because for the last 30 years, instead, we've kind of flip-flopped around going, training will fix it, even though it literally never has.
I'm done feeling cold and harsh because the reasons that sounds cold and harsh are because the instances that requires those are from people who are colder and harsher.
Yeah, this is it. If you want to train people to basically be a decent human being to other people, no, contract.
Yeah,
do that or leave. Simple.
Claim in New York dropped it for pronouns because there was no training on it. You cannot tell me that's colder and harsher than setting a standard in a contract. Yeah. Shut up.
No, I think it's
unemployment.
Is it a simple issue? No, absolutely not. Is being decent to other people a fairly standard thing that we should all be able to agree on? Yeah. Like, it's and yeah, from and you can't train that. You cannot train being a decent human being. It's a choice that everyone gets to make every single day. No training required. It's magic. You can just decide to be okay with other people.
Well, who decides what being a nice person is? Sorry, that was my America coming out.
Yeah, it's again, if you need that being defined, that should be your warning that you're not being a good person. Like,
yeah, there's a video traveling around and somebody who would rather have let their daughter kill themselves than go through transgender therapy. And that was a congressman. Trust me, we're real bad when it comes to ethical standards.
Yes, I think, yeah, when it comes to ethical standards, no one's pulling the moral high ground on ethical standards. Trust me. But again, that's kind of exactly the point with work. And this is why, like, ages ago, I was saying, like, I don't necessarily agree with the whole bring your whole self to work. No, some people are dicks and they should not bring them whole selves to work. They should censor themselves constantly in the workplace. And I don't care if they feel uncomfortable with it. I do. There's plenty of times I want to turn around to someone and go, I'm sorry, are you an actual idiot in the workplace? But you know why I don't? Because it's important that as a functioning adult, I treat people with a level of respect in the workplace, even if I don't think they deserve it.
Right? That's how you stay employed.
This is it.
You create friendliness.
It's that is part of being a decent person. You do not have to be friends. You do not have to agree. You just have to be decent to each other. Simple.
Right. See, that's the training that we should do. Like all the sensitivity training, a lot of stuff. Just switch that up, and we'll just make every company should have a course that says how to make yourself look like the asshole.
But
Like, here are
why?
all the things that make you look like the jerk here. Don't do it. Don't do those things.
But why is it a course?
Huh?
That is not a course. That is an email, and it should come out
That's
from the
true.
HR.
That's true.
This is my point: is that it's all comms. None of it is training.
It should be an email. You're right.
It should literally come out from the HR team as a comms. Hey, this is something you might be nervous about. Pronouns are a great example of this. In fact, pronoun training is terrible because it will always be out of date. However, a simple comms to the entire company saying, hey, here's a topic that is being discussed a lot right now and has some impact about how we communicate with each other.
Mhm.
Here is some basic information. Some people identify as whatever it might be, different to what you might expect or how they might appear to you.
Mhm.
Simply put, respect how they would like to be referred to. In the
Yeah.
same way that your name is Tom, not Tim, and you would prefer people to call you Tom, they would prefer to be called by whatever pronoun. It's exactly the same thing.
Mhm.
Just show
Exactly.
them the same respect you would like to receive. End of email.
Yeah. We might
Or
not always be on
maybe hit
top
a
of.
link, you
We
know?
might not be always on top of new developments in this kind of space, but we're going to do our hardest. We ask you to do the same, but this is the basic thing that seems to be tracking.
Exactly. It's
Treat people with respect.
yeah. And L&D do not need to be involved in that email.
No, we don't
There
need
is
to.
no L&D requirement in that task. We should stick
We
to
can
what we're
we can
really good
sponsor it. L&D
at.
L&D presents
A comms
the
from
HR email
HR.
and Jennifer.
But this is it. We should be focusing on what we're actually good at. Competence and confidence in the workplace. We can deliver that. If we actually focus, we can deliver that when we're not also trying to fix the world's problems, when we're not wasting our time on more leadership training, or putting people in mindfulness workshops.
Oh
Or whatever
God,
it might be.
I had somebody send me some stuff on that. Because since I'm on the job hunt, I get all of these like, hey, you want to develop skills stuff? And I got a mindfulness one. I was like, oh, I'm gonna ask some questions. They didn't respond.
Once again, we're woefully ill-equipped to deliver that stuff anyway. But it's
That's what ChatGPT is for.
There's this.
That's actually probably one of the things for ChatGPT, honestly. Is like, let's ChatGPT is going to generate a "Did you handle the gender thing correctly?"
Maybe. I mean, yeah. The trouble is, again, there's this view that like mindfulness training is a great example, in fact, of fundamental misunderstanding of what something is and isn't, and who should and shouldn't do it. Mindfulness is not universally good. Mindfulness is, in fact, incredibly dangerous for people. If you are depressed, mindfulness, guess what, will make you more depressed.
Yep.
It's awful advice given out to people all the time whenever we get near stress, mental health, anything like that. L&D should under no circumstances give out this advice. It's not qualified to do so. We certainly shouldn't run training around it. Neither should coaches, mentors, or anyone else in that space. The only people who should be providing any of that are medical professionals, which these organizations
new
aren't.
Aesop's fables. I think we're due for some new Aesop's fables that show the basics of
this.
kindness.
This is it. I would much rather see L&D stick to what problem is the worker in my business facing that's preventing them doing their job well. This. Cool. How do we fix that?
Yep.
Just do that. Just that's I get that in some ways that's really boring because it doesn't grab headlines, it doesn't relate to the big topic of today, but that's actually what the job's supposed to be.
We're never the big topic of today.
We are, we just shouldn't be.
Fair.
We're the servant part of the business that demands the headline constantly. Quite bizarre.
So much responsibility, gloriously thankless work.
Indeed. But,
welcome to L&D.
But we're cracking through time. I've actually got a couple of shout outs that I was going to do in between the topics, but we kind of jumped from topic to topic. First one is for a fantastic podcast I listened to today, which is called Learning from the Edges. Learning from the Edges is a podcast research project into where the edges of work cause friction and what to do about it. It is hosted by I forget her name, which is terrible. Oh no, I had all the information up and then I clicked around and now I'm lost. No, I've lost the info.
It's not learning at the edge or learning from
learning from the edges. It's brand new.
edges.
It's only got a couple of episodes out.
Okay,
So it's probably not going to come up top on Google or anything like that. Learning from the edges. Really, there's like an intro episode and 2 episodes so far. Fantastic.
Cool.
Episode 1, I think, has a couple. Each one has a couple of guests on. They kind of debate backwards and forwards. It's great. The first one, one of the guests is Donald Clark, who I always find his insights fascinating. But really digs into some interesting kind of what should L&D be doing topics. Well worth a listen to. I will drop a link to the podcast's LinkedIn page in the chat. That's well worth a listen. It's available in all your podcasting platforms, but fantastic. The second one is something a little bit different. So chances are, if you work in the field, you'll recognize the name Lauren Walden, or the Learning Pirate. She's done sessions at the last 2 IDTX conferences.
I hosted one of those. It was real cool.
This is it. She is
fun.
Fantastic. And she has been doing so much fantastic work in the industry about how we kind of utilize neuroscience and research in that space to be better at what we do. Challenging a lot of kind of myths, dodgy science, people posting stuff for no good reason on LinkedIn, etc. But she has also created Joining Forces with Your Brain, which is like an online experience where you kind of conduct a series of kind of experiments to help you better understand the brain's role in attention and learning and things like that. And chapter 1 is actually available completely free of charge.
Awesome.
Now, having engaged in kind of content creation and really high-end video, it ain't cheap. From location costs, camera equipment, editors, scripting, all this stuff, it takes a huge amount of time, huge amount of effort. So the fact that it's available for free is fantastic. You'll notice I said chapter 1 is free. Chapter 2 is launching at the end of May. And I was a bit kind of hesitant on how much this is going to be. It's probably going to be quite expensive. $50 US.
Oh, jeez. It's nothing.
It's nothing. It's exact. I've already pre-ordered it. I can't wait. I popped a link to Joining Forces with Your Brain in the chat. So this isn't a sponsored spot. I should point that out. I just got really excited because we're launching number 2 came out. I thought this is great. Spoke to Lauren. She was really excited about it as well. So I would say, look, if you're watching this, if you're vaguely interested in learning a little bit about your brain and how we learn, go and do chapter 1. Do it for free. It's free. It will lose you nothing. And then if you want to learn more, hey, as she does more chapters, consider buying them. But I mean,
she does a great job presenting it. Also,
like
fun.
She makes it so accessible.
Yeah,
really exciting.
She'll do, because with the IDC actually like specific things, like I'm going to prove my point by having you go through my game.
This exactly.
Like, you got me.
And what you'll do, I mean, in chapter 1, you'll learn about the different components of a neuron and how they connect and how they grow. She'll play you a video of one actually growing, which is
cool.
Just, that is, for me, that was the moment of going, that brain is physically learning and we're watching it happen. Like that's
cool. That's
creepy,
cool.
but really cool. She also talks a lot about attention and distraction, all inside chapter 1 and all through experimentation and you doing stuff, not just sitting there watching videos like Netflix. So, phenomenal learning opportunity, but not just another online course. Like you Google a course about neuroscience for learning, you'll get plenty of results. But all of them will be pages of text, 20-minute videos, all this, or it'll be LinkedIn Learning stuff. This is much more, go do this, try this now, stop, do that, you know, much more of a kind of series of experiments than just a here's information. Well worth it anyway. Obviously, I've put both those links in the chat, and I'll make sure they are in the description of this episode as well. I think these are the kind of things, joining forces with your brain, the kind of learning experience, those experiments, and the Learning from the Edges podcast are exactly the kind of thing we need more of in the L&D space.
Nice. I should I'm gonna make a personal mission to try to come up with some of my own next month. I've been a little removed from it, so I should gotta jump back in. Though next time we chat.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be a dad, so I got that going for me.
Yeah, you'll have to bring all your newfound dad wisdom to the live stream.
But I don't think you want that. Well, no,
that'll be it'll be awesome.
The Is a Dad update ID update.
Michelle Parry Slater, thank you, Kara. That's who the Learning at the Edges podcast is hosted by, and she wrote the L&D handbook. Is her book, and it's really fantastic as well. Again, one of those books where I found that I didn't necessarily agree with everything in it, but it didn't make it a bad book. It wasn't fundamentally, this is a lie. It's just, I disagree. And that's actually one of the most, to my mind, interesting things about the podcast is it's not her and a guest agreeing about everything for half an hour or 45 minutes. It's two guests who somewhat disagree. Certainly episode 1, you get some fairly substantial disagreements. Not like argument level disagreements, but like just different views of the world of learning, development, technology, and the relevant roles of those three in that space. So great listen, really great listen.
Nice.
That's it for little plugs from me. I
don't have much.
Yeah,
I'm a little removed, so I gotta get myself back into it all.
Right, in fairness, you got other stuff going on.
I do have other stuff going on, but I'm trying to jump back in. To jump back in.
Well, look, that is going to be, I think, all the topics for this show. Obviously, by the time we're back next time, Joey will be a dad. Far less excitingly, learning tech will have happened, so I'm sure I'll come back moaning about lots of stuff. So that'll be fun.
Trust me, I'll also be moaning about a lot of stuff. I think we'll be fine.
Awesome. Well, that brings us, I guess, to the end of, I think, the shortest ID update we've done in a while. We kept it sub 2 hours. Yeah,
we kept it sub 2 hours. I couldn't even finish the beer. Well, hold on.
Same, right? Exciting stuff. Well, look, everyone, have a fantastic May. Thank you for joining us. Joey, thanks for finishing that and joining us. And until next time, I will. Hang on. I wasn't as prepared as I thought. I can't roll the outro. Wait.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Ready to roll the outro now. We'll pretend that never happened.
Cut it in post.
Absolutely.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT.